In Australia, we share intimate stories from those that have been affected by bushfires.
The life has been breathed back into this place and it's just an absolute joy to be here.
Communities coming together to help wildlife and restore the land.
The garden makes me feel like life is worth going on with.
And a courageous act of conservation.
There's a lot to be inspired about here.
Gardening Australia, next Friday on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
Should we split this or should I put some money into your account? Or...
Yes. I know who you are.
Yeah, I should hope so.
You're the guy from the thing.
He had sex with Jessica. Yes.
You're going to go to the Oscars.
Wait, it's just the cleaner.
There is a reason actors date other actors.
He's a famous actor.
Loved you in the Avengers.
I wasn't in that.
And you're a little rat nobody.
Starstruck starts Wednesday at 9 on ABC TV or stream it all on iView.
Sunday, Jack sinks his teeth into a difficult case.
Want to tell us what you're doing there?
Murdering a cheeseburger.
And things are about to get very personal.
You can't tell me there's nothing here.
I can't disappear down these rabbit holes anymore.
The bullet was from his gun, Mr. Irish. There's no evidence of foul play.
Open and shut suicide is hardly top-shelf policing, is it?
Are you thinking revenge killings?
All new Jack Irish, Sunday at 30 on ABC TV or stream all episodes on iView.
Tonight, a National Cabinet meeting set for Monday to discuss the latest changes to the country's vaccine rollout. Sydney boosts its coronavirus measures while Victoria steps out of its fourth lockdown. Queensland Police issue an Amber Alert to help find a missing 10-year-old boy. And Australia finalises its swim team for the Tokyo Games. Good evening, I'm Yvonne Yong with ABC News. A special meeting of National Cabinet has been scheduled for Monday to discuss the latest change to Australia's COVID vaccination program. State leaders are again warning the rollout is too slow, with some calling for the Morrison government to be more ambitious.
A steady stream of Sydney-siders doing their bit to protect the nation.
The quicker people get vaccinated, the quicker they'll open our borders and we might actually be able to be united with our families.
Seemingly unperturbed by changing medical advice about AstraZeneca and extremely rare blood clots.
Millions of people being vaccinated, and it's only a small minority.
Statistically, it doesn't seem to be an issue.
However, GPs report some patients have been left concerned and confused.
What we're going to see in the next week or so is a lot more uncertainty. What that means is a lot more questions.
The locally made AstraZeneca vaccine no longer recommended for Australians aged between 50 and 59.
We will see a likely temporary reduction in daily vaccination rates as people make informed decisions.
More likely to be vaccinated.
A complication the Health Minister insists will eventually benefit the rollout.
Up to 1 million people who were AstraZeneca hesitant within that age group, they will have access to Pfizer.
Labor revisiting its criticism the government failed to secure sufficient Pfizer doses last year.
It put all its eggs in the AstraZeneca basket, and now those chickens are coming home to roost.
We've secured all of the available doses at the earliest possible time. That could have been done, and Pfizer's confirmed that.
Premier's not concerned about vaccine brands, but supply and pace.
I think we need to be far more ambitious in how quickly we vaccinate our population.
This is a race, and as a nation, we're falling behind. That is the reality.
As for the 3.5 million Australians who've already had their first AstraZeneca jab,
please don't hesitate to get your second dose. Make that booking and get your vaccine.
It's really important to get that full protection. You need 2 doses of AstraZeneca. Do not cancel your booking. Please have that conversation with your GP.
Scott Morrison will chair a hookup of National Cabinet on Monday from quarantine at the Lodge to discuss the reconfigured vaccine schedule. The ABC understands New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian will use the meeting to demand a significantly faster rollout, arguing the closed international border is giving Australians a false sense of security. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
The Victorian government has warned it can't meet demand for the Pfizer vaccine as a result of the federal government's changed advice. As the state steps out of its fourth lockdown, New South Wales authorities have bolstered their response to Sydney's growing coronavirus cluster. One new infection was discovered today, but it's the way the man was infected that's worrying officials.
As the clock struck 4, the choice was clear: cover up or cough up.
It's a bit of a hindrance, but you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Probably it's necessary, I think.
I'm not a fan.
Once again, masks are mandatory on public transport in Greater Sydney. As for indoor venues like shops and cinemas,
It's not compulsory, but we are strongly recommending that, especially if you can't guarantee social distancing.
just one new infection has been discovered, but it's the way the man in his 50s caught COVID that's worrying officials. He was shopping at Myer in Bondi Junction at the same time as an infectious limo driver, this week's first confirmed case.
It appears from CCTV cameras that it could have been a very fleeting contact.
The Premier hasn't ruled out tougher restrictions over the coming days. That'll depend on how many new infections are found. But Gladys Berejiklian is urging Sydney-siders to limit their movement this weekend. Ticketed events, she says, are okay.
All events have good COVID safety plans, so we don't want anyone to cancel any events.
But some organisations have already decided to postpone their events, including the Sydney Gluten-Free Expo.
It's a very difficult decision, I must say. There'll be a lot of disappointed people, but we are a health-based charity and we do have to consider the advice and the recommendations by government.
More than 1,000 close and casual contacts will spend the weekend in self-isolation. Anyone else who has even mild symptoms should also get tested. A Victorian couple who sparked a COVID scare on the Sunshine Coast has been fined for giving false information to get a border declaration pass. The husband and wife left Melbourne on the 1st of June during the city's lockdown. They drove through regional New South Wales, stopping in Goondiwindi and Toowoomba, and tested positive in Caloundra. Police questioned the two today. They've each been fined $4,000, and a 29-year-old Victorian man is in hospital after he tried to escape hotel quarantine in Cairns this morning. Police say he tried to scale down the outside of the building.
A gentleman did try to climb out of the balcony that they were on and then fell and was taken to the Cairns Base Hospital. I understand does have some injuries.
He is in a stable condition and police are investigating. An underworld figure has been shot dead in an execution-style murder in the heart of Sydney's CBD. Bilal Hamzi is the second notorious family member to be killed in less than a year. Horrified witnesses have described hearing gunshots ring out across the city. Police fear the shooting could trigger an all-out gangland war.
For the first time, Sydney's suburban war between rival gangs and underworld families spills into the heart of the city.
This was a brutal execution-style murder and it was carried out in a busy street.
I was at home and I was in bed reading, and all of a sudden I heard several shots go off, 3, 4, 5, and I was like, that can't be a gun.
But it was. After leaving a restaurant, crime boss Bilal Hamzi was fired upon, the hail of bullets leaving holes in the sandstone and residents in shock.
That was very panic. It was very painful. He was down on the floor and he was screaming.
The 34-year-old died in hospital. Witnesses say they saw two men speeding off in an Audi towards the Harbour Bridge. A car fitting the same description was later found burnt out near Lane Cove.
It was a great shock, yes, and a concern that whether there was anybody in the area, hiding.
Bilal Hamzi was a cousin of Bassam Hamzi, the leader of the notorious Brothers for Life gang. Their other cousin, Majid Hamzi, was killed late last year. 4 months later, Bilal's mother was targeted, but the bullet missed. Instead, it nearly hit a nurse inside a hospital. Police are now guarding the Hamzi's home, and friends and family are mourning the latest death.
This cycle has got to stop. It achieves nothing except pain for the community.
Police say they'd repeatedly warned Bilal Hamzi that his life was at risk over recent months, but that he ignored their advice. The 34-year-old was not alone when he was killed on this street, and detectives are now investigating whether he was set up.
It looks that way. It's someone who knows where he was.
As city workers went about their day, police collected bags of evidence, but they haven't found the murder weapon just yet.
It was extremely fortunate no members of the public were injured.
But there are fears revenge attacks could be imminent.
And just updating a developing story tonight, Queensland Police say a 10-year-old boy reported missing in Woodford, north of Brisbane, has been found. They've thanked the public for their assistance. Meanwhile, Victoria Police have found human remains at a landfill site in Melbourne's north. It could be missing woman Zhu Zhang. Police started searching for the body of the 33-year-old mother at this alert tip earlier this week. Police say what appear to be human remains were found this afternoon, and a post-mortem exam is being conducted to identify if it is the missing woman. Zhu Zhang, who's also known as Kelly, disappeared in February. A 35-year-old man from Doncaster has been charged with her murder. Indonesia is struggling to curb a new wave of COVID infections that's seen numbers surge with the spread of the highly transmissible Delta variant. The country is nearing 2 million cases, with daily infections more than doubling in the past month.
10-year-old Aisha is still grieving the loss of her mother from COVID-19. The single mum chose to isolate at home after testing positive to care for her daughter, but never got out of bed.
I thought she was asleep. It was about an hour and I was thinking Mum never slept that long. So I shook her to wake her up, but she didn't.
Her death has left Aisha an orphan, now in the care of a council social worker and his wife.
When we took her in, she was so sad. It took time for her to adjust.
Aisha's tragedy underlines the worsening crisis in Indonesia, with a new surge in infections since millions defied a ban on travel after Ramadan. It's being made worse by the rapid spread of the highly contagious Delta variant, now the dominant strain in Jakarta and parts of Java.
The decrease in cases since February distracted us into thinking the pandemic had passed. More often, we're hearing our friends and family are getting COVID.
Hospitals in Jakarta and other areas are again overwhelmed, with many too full to take new patients. Health authorities hope to accelerate the rollout of vaccines with a goal of 1 million shots a day by July, though fears about their health risks and efficacy have caused widespread reluctance in Indonesia. The death of a 22-year-old man in Jakarta after one AstraZeneca dose has scared his family against getting the jab.
No, I don't want to be vaccinated anymore.
In one town in West Java, they're giving live chickens as a reward for reluctant residents who agree to be vaccinated. Anne Barker, ABC News.
3 Chinese astronauts have docked with the country's new space station that's still under construction. The men will spend 3 months in orbit as part of China's first crewed mission in nearly 5 years and its longest to date. The Tiangong, or Heavenly Palace, is the 3rd manned space station following Russia's decommissioned Mir and the International Space Station. Nine Newspapers' defence team has seized on Ben Roberts-Smith's decision to correct evidence in his defamation trial. He's suing the media company for its coverage of his time on deployment in Afghanistan. The veteran today faced questions over the alleged murder of Afghan nationals. He denies he did anything wrong.
Ben Roberts-Smith faced a grilling about 6 Afghan men Nine Newspapers allege he murdered while serving in the SAS. Among them was a man with a prosthetic leg in 2009. Nine claims the former soldier took him under his control, removed him from a compound and shot him at close range up to 15 times. But Ben Roberts-Smith told the court the man was armed and he shot him from a distance under the rules of engagement. Then there's the allegation the veteran ordered a new soldier to execute 2 Afghan men under their control in Sia Choi to blood the rookie. He says the insurgents were killed from a distance when he threw a grenade into vegetation during a skirmish. And the most publicised allegation is that Ben Roberts-Smith ordered the execution of an Afghan man named Ali Jan after he kicked him off a cliff in Darwan. He refutes that, saying an enemy spotter was killed from afar in a cornfield. Do you remember kicking him hard in the chest, causing him to fall backwards over the cliff? no, that didn't happen. At one point during cross-examination, Ben Robert-Smith corrected evidence he gave yesterday. Nine's barrister seized on the moment, suggesting he changed his account of the aftermath of a killing to better fit his narrative. The veteran described this as fanciful. Josh Bavis, ABC News, Sydney.
The former spy known as Witness K has been spared jail with a 3-month suspended sentence for conspiring to reveal classified information. Witness K and his lawyer, Bernard Colliery, were charged with conspiring to share information about an Australian spying operation in East Timor during oil and gas treaty negotiations. Today he listened from behind tall black screens protecting his identity as his sentence was read in the ACT Magistrates Court.
It was an extraordinary hearing conducted in a courtroom with cameras covered and glass doors blacked out.